Welcome to the deep dive. You know, if you spend any time in the world of self-help or business or even athletics, discipline gets treated like, well, like the ultimate virtue.
It really does. It's everywhere. No pain, no gain.
Exactly. Winners never quit.
Yeah.
All these messages telling us that maximum control, maximum rigidity, that's the only way to achieve anything significant.
That's definitely the standard story we're told. But what we're digging into today is kind of the flip side of that.
Right.
We've got some sources here that really challenge that idea. They explore this hidden danger zone,
Yeah.
where that constant, really strict self-control stops working for you and actually starts causing, well, real harm, misery even.
Absolutely. So this deep dive, it's really about understanding that psychological cost, the cost of just relentless adherence to rules, even self-imposed ones. Our mission, then, is to unpack the research, the stories that show this kind of shadow side of discipline, and hopefully help you spot that point where striving turns into, well, something destructive.
Let's try and nail down what that switch looks like.
Okay, so when we talk about discipline, the image that usually comes to mind is like the perfect inner soldier, right?
Oh, totally.
The person who's up at 5 a.m., eats perfectly clean, never skips a workout, grinds away studying or working nonstop.
That idealized image.
And we should be clear, that kind of consistency, it is important. It's powerful for growth, for focus, for getting big things done over time.
Oh, absolutely powerful.
Yeah.
But like any powerful tool, it can be misused, can't it? When it becomes the master, not the servant.
How do you mean?
Well, when discipline gets pushed to an extreme, when it's absolute, no exceptions, totally unyielding it becomes a psychological trap.
Okay.
The person just stops listening. They filter out really crucial signals from inside, what their body's screaming about needing rest, or what their emotions are signaling about stress.
Or even what their relationships need, like just time and presence.
Exactly. They prioritize the rigid routine over their actual human needs.
And the result of that constant pressure, that relentless chase for perfect adherence, there's that great idiom the source material highlighted.
Ah, yes. Burning the candle at both ends.
Right, it captures it perfectly.
It really does. It's such a clear way of saying you're just using up energy way faster than you can replace it. Burning through physical, mental resources without any chance to recover.
So burnout, in this context, it's not just feeling a bit tired.
No, it's way beyond tired. It's like the complete loss of effectiveness because you've basically broken your own system through sheer self-pressure.
Wow. Okay, to make this even clearer, the sources gave us this really potent short story, The Monk Who Forgot to Breathe. I think we need to unpack that one.
Yes, it's a fantastic cautionary tale. Really gets at mistaking pain for progress or wisdom.
Tell us about it.
So this monk, he was convinced that the only path to enlightenment was through absolute control. Physical, mental, everything. So he subjected himself to these insane regimes. Endless meditation, no breaks, barely any rest, hardly eating, until his body just, well, gave out. He was literally collapsing in his pursuit of this ideal.
And his master found him like that.
Found him nearly broken, physically shaking, and the monk tried to defend it, said, this extreme discipline was the only way.
But the master had a different take, and this really hits the core of what we're discussing today, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. The master looked at him, this wreck of a man, and said something profound. He said, if you seek perfection through torture, you have forgotten to live.
Wow. Forgotten to live.
Think about that. The monk was so focused on control over himself, seeing his own needs as just obstacles to be crushed. He wasn't seeking harmony or balance. He was seeking dominance over his own nature.
That distinction, dominance versus harmony, that feels really important.
It's crucial because it shines a light on how extreme discipline can become something else entirely. Our sources call it ego disguised as effort.
Explain that. Ego disguises effort.
Yeah. It means you refuse to rest, not because you genuinely can't rest, but because you started to wrongly equate resting or flexibility with some kind of moral weakness.
Ah, so it's like a performance of strength.
Exactly. It looks like strength on the outside, but it's actually masking an underlying fragility, the inability to adapt, to listen, to show basic kindness to yourself.
And the outcome isn't strength, it's
brittleness, it's fragility. The sources are clear. Pushing yourself like that, torturing oneself, it leads directly to physical or emotional collapse. The second discipline turns into self-punishment. It stops being productive. full stop.
Okay, I need to push back a little here, though, because in certain fields, think about surgeons or maybe high-level entrepreneurs, elite athletes, there are definitely times when you have to push hard. You have to operate under intense pressure, push through fatigue sometimes.
That's a really important point.
Are the sources saying any period of high effort is bad? Or is it more about the default setting, the relentless nature of it?
It's definitely the latter. The sources make a clear distinction between intense, focused effort, which might be necessary, but it's targeted and usually temporary, and this debilitating obsession.
Ah, obsession.
Yeah, obsession is the rigid, permanent state where the discipline itself becomes the goal, regardless of the cost. We're not criticizing hard work, we're examining the mechanics of when that hard work turns obsessive.
Okay, so that's the key. How do we know? When have we crossed that line from healthy, strong effort into that self-torturing obsession zone?
Well, the research points to a couple of key markers. First one is losing autonomy.
Meaning
The routine starts controlling you instead of you controlling the routine. You feel trapped by it.
Okay, and the second?
The second big marker is the onset of real anxiety if the routine gets broken. Like, if missing one gym session or eating one wrong thing sends you into a spiral of guilt or distress, that's not healthy discipline.
It's compulsive.
Exactly. It's become a compulsive obsession. The sources nail it. The line between strength and obsession is thin, because from the outside, they can look almost identical.
And you really do see that everywhere, don't you? Especially today. We often praise the outward signs.
Oh, constantly.
You celebrate the student pulling all-nighters, studying 10 hours straight, or the professional who boasts about never taking a vacation day, wears it like a badge of honor.
Or the person tracking every single calorie down to the decimal point.
Yeah.
They might look incredibly successful and incredibly focused, but the internal reality, which the psychological research we looked at confirms, is often just exhaustion, disconnection,
Anxiety.
huge amounts of anxiety, often.
Yeah.
Their mental energy is just poured into maintaining this rigid control, leaving very little room for anything else. Joy, creativity, connection.
That idea, ego disguised as effort, driven by this fear of deviating from the plan that's powerful. So, okay, if we recognize this pattern, maybe in people we admire, or maybe even in ourselves, how do we shift? How do we get from that rigid, anxious state to a form of discipline that's actually sustainable, that's intelligent? We need the fix.
Right. And the fix, according to the psychology, involves cultivating something called self-compassionate discipline.
Self-compassionate discipline. Okay, tell me more.
It's essentially finding that intelligent middle ground, the path that lets you be consistent and achieve things, but without the self-punishment, without the harm.
So what does self-compassion bring to the table? How does it help us stay disciplined without tipping into anxiety and obsession?
Well, self-compassion isn't just one thing. Psychologists usually break it down to three core parts. First is self-kindness instead of harsh self-judgment. Basically, treating yourself like you treat a friend who's struggling.
Okay, makes sense.
Second is common humanity versus feeling isolated. Recognizing that messing up, struggling, feeling tired, that's just part of being human. It doesn't mean you're uniquely flawed or failing.
Right, everyone struggles.
Exactly. And the third piece is mindfulness versus getting totally swamped by negative feelings. It's about noticing your pain or frustration without letting it completely take over, without over-identifying with it.
Okay. But I can hear the objection already. If I practice self-kindness when I feel tired, doesn't that just become an excuse? Won't I just skip the workout, let myself off the hook? How is that discipline?
That's the classic misunderstanding.
Yeah.
And it's a really important one to clear up. Real self-compassion isn't self-pity. It's not about just giving up.
Okay.
It's actually a powerful motivational strategy, especially for resilience.
Yeah.
Think about it. If you push too hard and inevitably stumble or fail, what does the harsh inner critic do?
Makes you feel terrible, probably makes you want to quit altogether.
Precisely. The self-critical person often gives up entirely. But the self-compassionate person, they can look at the situation more clearly. They might say, okay, that approach was too much, or I pushed too hard there. And then they say, I need to adjust, maybe rest, recover, and then try again tomorrow, but maybe a bit smarter this time. It allows you to re-engage after setbacks. Discipline is the action, yes, but self-compassion is the sustainable fuel for that action.
Okay, that reframes it completely. It's not about punishment, it's about sustainable self-care that allows you to keep going.
Exactly.
So the sources also gave some really practical, everyday ways to put this compassionate discipline into action, things we can do right away.
Yes, 3 core strategies came up. The first one sounds simple, maybe even a bit cliche, but it's profound. Learn to cut yourself some slack,
Meaning?
meaning you build in actual breaks, deliberate, scheduled recovery. Performance experts sometimes call it strategic discontinuity. You intentionally pause before you hit the wall to prevent that deep fatigue from setting in.
Okay, planned breaks, not just collapsing. What's the second one?
The second is to pace yourself. This is about recognizing that most worthwhile goals, building a career, getting fit, learning a skill, they're marathons, not sprints.
Right.
If you try to sprint the whole way, you'll burn out.
Right.
But if you find a steady, sustainable pace, one that doesn't constantly deplete you, your odds of actually finishing and finishing well go way up.
Makes sense. And the third?
And the third strategy is perhaps the most crucial, and it's the one that poor Monk completely ignored. Listen to your body.
Ah, back to the internal signals.
Absolutely. Treat your physical cues, fatigue, pain, hunger, and your emotional cues, stress, anxiety, overwhelm, not as enemies to be conquered, but as vital data. Feedback.
So listening isn't weakness.
Listening is intelligence.
Yeah.
It's the feedback loop telling you precisely what adjustments you need to make to keep performing optimally over the long haul. Ignoring it is like ignoring the warning lights on your car's dashboard.
Okay, so if we tie all this back together, what we're saying is that real discipline, effective discipline, it has to be intelligent, it has to be adaptive.
Yes.
It needs to know when to push, when to apply that pressure to make progress. But just as importantly, maybe even more importantly, it has to know when to pause, when to recover.
Because if you ignore the need to pause,
You're just setting yourself up for that collapse we talked about. It becomes inevitable.
so the whole focus shifts, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Not about punishing yourself now.
No, it's fundamentally about caring for your future self, making sure that future self is actually well-resourced, capable, and not just a burned-out husk. It's an investment, not a punishment.
So the goal isn't that rigid, impossible perfection that drove the monk into the ground.
Definitely not. The goal, as the sources suggest, is something more like progress with peace.
Progress with peace. I like that.
Sustainable growth. Growth that doesn't demand your inner well-being as payment. That's the signature of truly smart, effective effort. So, for everyone listening, as you think about the areas in your own life where you demand a lot from yourself, maybe where you practice discipline, we want to leave you with this question to mull over based on everything we've discussed today.
Yeah, ask yourself this. When does your discipline cross the line? When does it start being motivation that guides your progress intelligently and start becoming pressure that's actually pushing you towards burnout or collapse?
And consider how introducing a bit more flexibility, maybe a bit more kindness, could actually make you stronger and more resilient in the long run than that rigid adherence ever could.